Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Yes. Dating your teacher is one of the first things Persona 5 tells you is wrong. The game spends dozens of hours teaching you that the predatory adults are the monsters who twist the world to their will. You and the Phantom Thieves literally dedicate your lives to fighting them. So why does the game reward you for romancing the adults? This is not just some weird quirk, it's a massive contradiction that says a lot about the series. Today, we are diving into the ethical mess of Persona 5's adult relationships.
But one thing is clear though, the premise. The premise is clear. You're a 16-year-old who does not want to be lonely.
The gameplay mechanics that actively encourage them, and why it feels like Atlus is at war with its own story. Persona's social link system is legendary. The series is built on this revolutionary idea that connecting with people, really getting to know them, and helping them with their problems literally makes you stronger in the game. It's a beautiful concept, and it's one of the reasons Persona 3 changed RPGs forever. This idea was so unique that it kinda influenced the gaming industry as well. On top of this incredible system about the depth of human connection, Atlus bolted a dating simulator where you can date 10 women at once with basically zero consequences. And none of it matters to the main story. That's not romance, but more like a checklist in my opinion. And the history here just makes it worse. In the original Persona 3, if you played as the male protagonist, the romance system was almost coercive. To max out most female social links, you were basically forced into a relationship. You were punished for not wanting to date these characters by being locked out of the best personas for their arcana. And if you dated multiple girls, which the game mechanically pushes you to do for 100% completion for their social links. Or it could literally reverse, forcing you to waste time fixing the relationships you might not have ever wanted. To their credit, Atlus eventually fixed this. Persona 3 Reload, released in 2024, finally added platonic routes, a mere 18 years after the original revolutionary Persona 4 Golden, which eased up on the punishments, but the relationships still felt like they existed in a vacuum. You could date the entire female cast, and the only fallout was one slightly awkward scene on Valentine's Day. But with Persona 5, this design philosophy reached its most uncomfortable conclusion. This is a game that just confused about romance. It is actively incoherent. And now the elephant in the room. Adult romances. And that brings us to the adult confidants in Persona 5. Your character, a mere 16-year-old, he's just in high school by the way. He's a student and he can start a romantic relationship with his own homeroom teacher, his doctor and a journalist, and literally a fortune teller. What? All of these women are in their mid to late 20s or older, and all of them are in a position of power over him and authority. So let's start with the most infamous one. Sadayo Kawakami. The game's entire first arc is about taking down Kamoshida, a teacher who abuses students. Persona 5 spends hours making you feel sickened by an adult exploiting his power over minors. Then 30 hours later, it lets you date your homeroom teacher who you have been hiring as a maid, and it frames it as a sweet romantic storyline. This isn't just the gameplay and story disagreeing, it's a head-on collision. The game sets up a clear moral line and then just sprints right over it to give you another waifu. Other adult romance follows a similar if less a jarring pattern. Her name is Tai Takemi. Yeah, the god doctor of course. So basically she has you, a minor basically, in the game in her trials of obscure experiments on you. Like what the hell? Ichiko Oya is a journalist who's using a high school kid as her confidential informant. Chihaya Mifune is a fortune teller who scams you out of 100,000 yen as of an introduction. In every single one of these cases, the power imbalance is glaring. And in every case, the game does absolutely nothing to explore it. These adult women show almost no hesitation about dating a teenager. There are no social consequences, your friends never say a word, and your guardian, Sojiro Sakura, never seems to notice you're spending time with these hags or adults. I don't know. I mean, you can't really blame him when he's like this.
boy.
So, Sojiro never seems to notice you're spending all your time with women a decade older than you. These are not characters making a difficult choice. They are just items on a list, waiting for you to check them off. So, all this time we talked about how adult relationships are there in the game. Now we need to ask why. The story's justification is so weak, why are these options even in the game? The answer is always the same, the gameplay loop. Persona's romance has never really been about telling a compelling love story, it's about maximizing gameplay benefits. Ranking up each confidant unlocks new abilities, from perks in battle to skills that save you precious time. Kawakami, for instance, gives you a special message that lets you out at night after being in the metaverse, an unbelievably powerful skill. The game is actively pushing you to hang out with these characters for the mechanical reward. Persona 5 Royal doubles down on this. It adds the Thieves' Den, where you can unlock achievements for an art gallery. One of those achievements, a grand experiment, requires you to romance at least one character. And the most insane one, the Ultimate Strike. It is for getting the entire harem ending on the Valentine's Day. The game just doesn't let you date everyone, it gives you a trophy for it. The goal isn't to find one meaningful connection, it is to collect them all, as if it is some checklist, likewise I've said earlier. This creates a system where romance is totally divorced from the narrative. You can be in a committed relationship with Makoto and she will never act once like your girlfriend during a critical Phantom Thieves meeting. And it has to be this way, because the romance is optional, and spin-offs like Persona 5 Strikers have to treat Joker as a blank slate with no official girlfriend. So basically the whole system is about being disposable from the start and not having any meaning. Now, let's talk about the cultural context that the fandom often argues about. It is a hot argument, I would say, that a lot of defenders say that you can't judge a Japanese game by Western standards, pointing to basically different age of consent laws or a greater cultural acceptance of age gaps in anime and manga. And look, context is always important. It's true that teenagers in Japanese media are often shown as being way more independent than in the West. But this defense completely misses the point because the game contradicts its own moral framework. The problem with Kamoshida is not just his age. The game tells us the problem is that he's an abusive monster who uses his power to exploit students. The story expands its entire first act, teaching you with no ambiguity and that this is unforgivable. So the issue is not a clash of cultures. It's a clash happening inside the game's own script. It tells you predatory adults are evil and then offers you a menu to literally just date them all for a reward. The argument is not about whether it's okay in real world. It's about the fact that Persona 5 itself tells us it's wrong and then pretends it is not. So what do you think? Are these relationships just a harmless power fantasy? A feature maybe aimed at older players, or are they a serious design flaw that completely undermines the game's message? Let me know your pick for the most problematic romance down in the comments. And hey, if you enjoy deep dives like this, consider subscribing for more because I keep making Persona content like this, so why not if you like Persona. So let's talk about a bit of Persona 6. What do I actually want? I don't want to just complain without offering a solution, and honestly I see two paths forward for Persona 6 that would be a huge improvement. First, go all in, actually commit, make romance a core part of the story like BioWare does with Mass Effect or Dragon Age. In those games, your relationships have stakes. Romancing someone can change the plot, impact your crew's loyalty, and have real consequences. It's woven into the main story, not floating in some separate bubble the plot cannot even touch, like some side plot. Like, if you can do that, just take a step back. And it is quite interesting that Katsura Hashino, the director of Persona 3, 4 and 5, deliberately chose not to include romance in his new game, Metaphor Refantasio. He said that romance worked for Persona's high school setting, but Metaphor was about something else, so that shows he understands that deep character bonds don't have to be romantic to be powerful. Maybe Persona 6 could feature an older cast, maybe college students or young adults, which would neatly sidestep these ethical problems a lot. A lot of fans have been asking for this for years. It would open the door for more mature stories without the uncomfortable power dynamics. And I would definitely love this feature if it happens. I still love these games. I will play Persona 5 Royal again and I will absolutely romance Makoto every single time. But I also know that romance is consistently the weakest part of the franchise that is a masterclass in making you care about its characters. And at some point we need to stop arguing about who is the best girl and start asking why the game does not let any of them be more than a prize for maxing out a stat bar. Just make them a connection, bro. So these are my thoughts on romance of Persona 5 and why adults should not be dated in Persona 6 in future, and I would love to know your thoughts about it because I honestly think that this romance system in Persona 5 is kind of messed up with the adults, and if it would be a great tweak that Atlus could make them more connective and intertwining rather than just a checklist or a confidant system. So what are your thoughts? Do let me know in the comments and I would see you on the next one. A brand new day, a brand new week for Persona fans. With this one, goodbye.